Welcome to my channel. Today we're not doing one tutorial, we're not doing two. We're going to do 5 different projects using 2 napkins. Now the first project, I'm going to do a menu board. This is a collage frame. It has 8 sections. You can get different kind of collage frames with different amounts of things. Now, as I said, I'm going to use this as a menu board. That gives me a title page or a title section and one for every day of the week. You can use this as a activity board, a chore board, or for whatever purpose, a communication center in your house. Now, previously, I've done a menu board using Stamperia scrapbook paper, and I did a Christmas theme. I'll put a link to that video. Now I made myself a template, a 4x6 template, because that's what the openings are. Now if you look at the frame, you'll see that some are going vertically and some are going horizontally. So I need to pay attention to which way it's going and how I'm going to hang my frame. So I'm going to sample some of the new fall napkins from NinnysNapkins.com, and I'll put a link to the video where I showcase all the new fall napkins. And actually I do use this napkin on another project, and you're going to want to see that one. So this one would work vertically or horizontally on this frame. I guess it was spoiler alert, I'm using it on a different project. This sunflower one would go vertically, and in a pinch it could go horizontally. But I really love that one. I think I'm going to save it. Now, because there are 8, I need to use 2 of 4 different napkins or 4 sections of 2 napkins. This one would work. I also want to look, and I don't want it too busy because I need to put the days of the week on there. And I'm looking to see, are the napkins, do the colors go, will it look good when it's up there? Because from afar, you will see the color and the patterns. And this is an easy way to swap out your decor. This one would work really well. That one would work. You got smaller leaves and larger leaves. So you can see that there are lots of options. This one is called Autumn Bright, and I absolutely love the rich tones of this napkin. You can't even tell in the video how beautiful it is. And again, it would go with that one. It would go with that one. Now, since I just got a shipment of the newest fall napkins, I'm deciding what I want to do with which napkin. And some of them I love so many and I have so many ideas for, it's a little hard to narrow that down. This one is called Think Positive Thoughts, and I like the white, and it's got the same colors as the Autumn Bright one. And so those are the 2 napkins that I am going to do for this menu frame. Now you can peel off the excess layers of napkin at this point, or you could wait till you cut them out. I do both, and it didn't really matter one way or another. The napkin is a lot harder to work with, though, for the most part. It's a little more flimsy if you peel off the excess layers first. So this MDF was actually in the frame. It backs it, and I'm lining up what part of the napkin I want, and I'm using a rotary cutter to get cut along that straight edge. And boy, did that ever work super. And you're going to see me using this rotary cutter for all the cutting that I have. And there is the perfect size. So I'm just going to continue with the napkins. I'm going to use my window to make sure that I get a section that I like, but I want to maximize the use of this napkin, so I don't want to waste any. So I'm being mindful of that. And actually I make 3 projects with this napkin, the menu board and 2 others. And I'm just lining these up. These ones are going to go horizontally. And I might be able to get either a coaster or a fridge magnet out of the other ones, or I'm thinking that at the time. Now I'm lining up the napkin the way it was to see and get the exact same two parts. So I'm just cutting it with the rotary cutter, and I have my cutting board underneath. Now with this napkin, I didn't take off the excess plies, and it cut easily, as did the one that I peeled the backings off of, the other napkin. All these projects are super simple, and anyone can do it. Great for beginners. So here is the all over pattern part of the Think Positive Thoughts napkin, and I'm just lining it up using the rotary cutter and cutting that off. And I'm being mindful of where do I want? I want, you know, some of those bigger flowers. There's some areas that don't have as many, and I don't want to use those. When you order from Ninny's Napkins, you get 2 of each napkin, and I'm just showing how much you can make out of those 2 napkins. So again, I can put these on coasters or turn them into fridge magnets. So now I want to mount those napkins on mixed media paper. This is from my 9x12 Canson Mixed Media Journal. I've just taken a page out, and I'm cutting it in the same way that I cut the napkins with the rotary cutter, and you can get 4 from 1 sheet. So I use 2 sheets. Don't be afraid to use the excess sheets from your journal to make ephemera to use for projects. Now this is just a simple matter of putting down a layer of fluid matte medium. You can use Mod Podge, decoupage, and I've like this technique of using saran wrap to smooth it over. This really helps get rid of the wrinkles, but you don't want to make sure that you don't get any of that adhesive on the top. Once it's flat, I do put some on the top and I seal it. Now, if you're using Mod Podge or DecoArt's decoupage, if it gets sticky, you may not want to use it for this frame. The fluid matte medium does not stick to the glass once I put it inside. But I know people report that Mod Podge often gets sticky, and that might be problematic. So just a word of caution. There I'm using the saran wrap to get rid of the wrinkles and flatten it, get perfect adhesion, and then a coat on top. This seals the napkin. And I'm cleaning because I don't want to get anything underneath. I would love for you to tell me which of these projects that you like the most. Now you see I was a little rough with the napkin. I'm going to show you later how I fix that problem. But learn from my mistake and go a little more gently. And as you can see, I position the napkin, I hold it in place, I glue 1/2 or 3/4 of it down, and then I flip the other side and glue it down. I just find that way I have the most success. And again, I missed some on the end. I'll fix it later. So I'm paying attention to where the hanger is, and I'm going to solve that problem where I ripped it. I'm just taking some color and dabbing it either with your fingers or with a brush and just colorize any of those spots that don't show or that are showing white. So I'm making sure now which orientation, how I want them to look. I'm finalizing which way I'm going to do it. Now I printed off days of the week onto tissue paper. I tape the tissue paper on, and I'll put a link to a video where I teach how to do that. So there is the tissue paper. And I'm using tissue paper because I don't want to put white. Now here's one with the white. You could use that, and I would just bubble cut around it closely to eliminate as much of the white as possible. So if you don't have tissue paper or don't want to put tissue paper through your printer, that's the alternative. So the top left-hand corner is going to be the title. So I'm going to start, the top right one is going to be Sunday. So right now I am just cutting out the tissue paper days of the week, and I'm keeping the backing paper on there because it's just a lot easier to cut when the copy paper is on there. And once I have them all in the right place, sitting on top of the one they're going to get glued onto, I'm going to take them off and be mindful that some of that is around the edge where the black frame is. You don't want to put it too close to the edge because it will not be seen. It'll go under that black frame. And I put a good amount of fluid matte medium under and then fluid matte medium on top. And that'll turn the tissue paper translucent so you see the beautiful napkin from underneath. I'm lining up them to kind of eyeball the positioning of them, so all of them are basically positioned in the same place. But you could put them random if that's what you like. In another menu board, I actually use my letter stamps, and I stamped out the days of the week. But this is far faster. Tissue paper is a little bit stronger than the napkin, so it can take a little bit more abuse, but it does still get fragile when it's wet, so be caution. So now that they're all done, I'm just marking on the back where the top is, and I'm writing the days of the week. This is going to help me when I have to put them in the frame, because you flip the frame and it's reversed. And I've just learned that this makes it easier. Before I put them in the frame, I'm going to splatter them with gold, and I'm going to make sure that they completely dry. I don't think it's a good idea to put it when the papers are still wet. So give it a couple days before you put it in the frame and seal it, just to avoid any possible problems because of the moisture that's in it. And I'm splattering the second pattern in the same way. I cut out 2 sentiments for the title page, Eat, Drink, and Be Thankful, which came from one of the napkins, and Burchill's Bistro. I'm not sure which one I'm going to put, but so here you see me taping down the tissue paper onto the copy paper. And yes, I printed out the sentiment on that paper. The reason for that is I can see exactly where it's going to fall, and I can make sure that I have a large enough piece of tissue paper and I'm not putting tape where there's going to be printing of some of the letters. Then I feed this through my printer. And like I said, I will link the video where I teach this and give you the ins and outs. My printer is a laser printer, and it doesn't smear once it's printed out. So there it has been printed, and I've decided I'm going to use the Eat and Drink and Be Thankful. As you can see, I used a combination of fonts. I'm still cutting off as much of the excess tissue as I can. Even though it goes translucent, I just prefer cutting it as close as I can. And again, I've kept the copy paper on to make it easier to cut. Once I position them, it's back to putting the matte medium on, underneath and on top. Use a good amount. That will ensure that it goes as translucent as possible. And since I want to do a menu board for summer and spring, I'm going to keep that Burchill's Bistro. Maybe I'll use that title another time. And I'm just giving this a good dry, using my heat tool to speed up the process. If there's any places that it didn't get as dark, you can use your Posca pen and go over it. Now I put the days of the week in there, and I'm putting everything back into the frame. Quick peek, making sure that I've got everything on the right way before I continue. And here's how it works. Just with a dry erase marker, you can write what the plan is for the meals, and it just erases with a piece of paper towel. So we had some leftovers from the napkins, and so I grabbed this door hanger, which will fit, and I'm going to make a mini composition book. And there'll be a little bit left over, but I'm not going to throw that out because that'll make a nice collage piece. Taking off the layers, and then I'm simply going to decoupage this down in the same way that you've seen me before. I have a bin where I have samples of all the substrates, one composition book, a couple of the coasters, the door hangers, small scale canvases. And when I'm deciding what I'm doing with a napkin, I have all of those out, and then I can easily decide if how else I can use it. This other one that's going on the composition book, I am gluing down onto a piece of scrap copy paper. A coat of matte medium underneath and a coat of matte medium on top. So pretty much with all of these, the basic process is the same. So all these can be gifts, can be, home decor items. They'll be all matching in your house. So I'm just cutting out a little bit of that hole, and I'm going to show you a quick way. It is the burned napkin decoupage technique. And you just use a lighter once it's dry here, and it just burns off the excess. I'm always amazed at how this works. Then I go around and I brush it with a brush, and if any of them haven't, woo, look at that go. How easy is that? I'm just getting any of the little excess that didn't burn off. And then I'm using a makeup sponge and putting black. Now this door hanger, I did give a coat of white gesso on the one side, and I've got black paint on the back sides. I pre-did all of them, so they are at the ready for me. Some days when I don't feel overly creative, I'll just gesso a bunch of my substrates to have them ready. I'm edging the paper page or around the edge with using my floating acrylic shading technique. Because I'm going to put a coat of varnish on this, I want to make sure I use permanent stuff that isn't going to reactivate. So I'm not going to use charcoal or Stabilo all pencil. If you do, if that's what you're using, you need to spray it with a workable fixative to set it before you do the varnishing. There's always a workaround. So we're moving on to the composition book. So I am cutting it to size for the front and the back. And again, I have a window template for this. Now, I want to cut around those oak leaves and have that hanging out. And it takes me a minute to figure out how to do this, but I did. So as you can see, I glued it onto scrap copy paper. It has one side is copied. Nothing goes to waste. I'm just going to draw a line there. And I'm just going to fold along that line. So on the front, I can see where the straight edge is. And then when I cut, I can cut around those oak leaves. Hopefully when you see me do this, what I just said makes sense. I love this Autumn Bright napkin, and if I had more, I would make more composition books, just like I'm doing here. It's definitely one of the a great napkin for its usability. And there you can see it, the overlaps onto the black binding. I'm using gel medium here instead of fluid medium because it's on copy paper and it's thicker, and I just find that gives you better results. Once that's dry, I'm cutting off the excess, and there is the cover. So now I'm going to glue the back on. Now, I could have, and I thought about, I could have taken that and used that for a front and just painted the back one of the colors that's in here, the burnt sienna or the Naples yellow, or a combination of it. It could have been not solid. I grabbed a sentiment from my short and sweet sentiment pack. I have white letters with a black background and black background with, and a white background with black letters. So the usability of that sentiment pack is great for small makes like this. Now I'm edging it just to make it show up a little bit more. You could shade on the napkin, on those oak leaves if you wanted to. I did a very little bit, but it's really not necessary. This napkin is so beautiful on its own. And then I open up everything and I splatter both projects at the same time. Saves on cleanup. I decide I want to put a sentiment on that door hanger. So again, I print it out onto tissue paper. After I identify which one I want, then I play with where do I want it. And when I do sentiments, I type out the various ideas that I have and print it out, and then I might finalize my choice. So again, I'm gluing these tissue paper sentiment down just like you've seen me doing before. Leaves are falling, autumn calling. And I'm grabbed my Posca pen and I'm just doing some line work around the edge of the door hanger and the composition book. This one I do a dash, dot, dot, dot. And on the book I just do a line, a sketchy line. And the back. So now we have this Think Positive Thoughts napkin, and I'm going to glue this right down on the 6x6 card base from the Crafter's Workshop with fluid matte medium, and that's pretty much going to be it. I'm going to do some edging on it, but that's it. It's beautiful as it is. It makes a quick, easy card, and I've got 4 of these between the 2 napkins, so I could make 4 identical cards, ship them out, whatever. This is a good general card. I did the saran wrap to make sure that I got rid of as many wrinkles, and I'm putting a coat of the fluid matte medium on top. Now I tested out the Naples yellow and I thought, you know what, I'm going to paint the 6x6 mixed media board with the Naples yellow, but I don't want this same sentiment. I'm going to substitute a sentiment that I have, a different one, just to show some variation. So I'm going to use the ring, but not the words. Here's a coat of Naples yellow. And since this napkin has a lot of white space in it, when I glue it down, that Naples yellow is just going to enrich and colorize it, give it a deeper, richer tone. I love working on these mixed media boards. They're very easy to work on. The paint, the Naples yellow was a little flat, so I'm just adding some texture and some variation using bubble wrap with white paint and then some gold paint. This hides the line between where the napkin ended and the paint began. This is me putting the gold on. And I'm even going over top of the napkin. This makes everything look very cohesive. And you really can't tell that it's not all the same. I decided to go with the saying, to everything there is a season. And I've cut it out of the copy paper. I will be using tissue paper, so it will go translucent. But I use this to test it. And I decide I want to cut out some more of these flowers and just collage them on top. I have this extra, so I'm cutting them out and I can put them wherever I want in and around my sentiment and that open area. Once I have all the ones that I think I need, I'm going to glue them all down and I can layer them up. I have some mini easels that I got at Dollar Store. I ordered from Amazon, and I'll stand this next to my coffee maker, and I have different ones for different seasons. So I just substitute them out, but this sits really well on a mantle. You don't even need a frame. And these ones are with tissue paper. And I glue that all down. I'm using the sanding block to get off any of the edges. The mixed media board isn't wood, so I'm not, or metal, so I'm not going to light it. Use the lighter approach, the burnt napkin approach. And I'm edging it with black to bring out the vibrancy of the colors and frame my 6x6. I edged the card as well, and I'm splattering both with gold. And there you have it. 5 different projects using 2 of 2 napkins. There are close-ups of all the projects. Let me know which one you like the most. And I challenge you. Pick 2 napkins that go together and see how many projects you can make with it. Let me know. Bye for now.